Hi guys, Coach Sarah here, and I am stoked to chat a little bit about race preparation with you, pre-race prep. So you get through weeks, months of training, you go to bed early and you don't stay out late, you get up early, you say no to all those late night events, and you make all those sacrifices, get out there when the weather's not great and the motivation isn't super high. You've done all the work. Now, the celebration run or race awaits. And that is the way I like to think of racing. Because if you're like most people, we can start getting hyper focused on the event and starting to actually get a little bit of stress or anxiety and start worrying about the big day. But the truth of the matter is, you've done all of the work. This is what you've been training and preparing for. This is the celebration. And what you've done up until that point is going to show up in your fitness and in your race on race day. But you still have some key training and strategies to take advantage of to ensure you're in prime shape come race day. And that's your pre-race prep. So the first thing to think about when we are following training principles and a periodized plan is the taper period. And what a taper is, if you haven't done one yet, it's a period after the peak training you've done, so your sort of longest, hardest workouts that replicate the race that you're training for the most closely. You taper down in the volume of training. So that's the number of minutes that you spend per week doing your discipline in preparation for the sport. Okay, so that can be, or in preparation for the race. So that can be a decrease in the length, the minutes you spend in each workout, or the number of workouts in the week, or usually a combination of both. And typically, a taper will cut your volume by 50%, even down to 75% in the final days leading up to the race. And the reason behind this is the same concept that we've discussed, the key training principle of recovery, in that we don't get stronger from the training. We only break the body down through the training stress. So we need the recovery period in order for the body to have the opportunity to rebuild, okay, resynthesize, restructure, adapt, and grow stronger from all of the training stress. And the goal is to shed the extra fatigue so your body can rebuild, rebound, and your true fitness, your peak fitness can shine through. So too little taper and you can feel exhausted, sore, tired, and wishing that you had taken a longer taper on race day. And too much taper and you can start deconditioning and lose more of the fitness than you would with a optimal level of taper period and recovery period. That being said, personally, I feel like it's a little better to be a little undertrained on race day than overtrained. But it's very personal. We have some guidelines we follow for tapering, but the more you race, the more you learn about your body, and you learn how much time you need to recover before your goal event. And there's a few things that change that. Your experience with the distance. So if you've done it multiple times, it's not going to require as long of taper as the first time. And the length of the event. Okay, so a 10K, you might taper for 5 to 7 days, maybe even 10 days. For a half marathon, 10 days, maybe 2 weeks. A marathon, 2 weeks to 3 weeks. Ultra, 3, 4, maybe even more for 100 milers, etc. So the goal is to allow that fatigue to clear out so your fitness can shine through. All right, and the key is that it's just the volume, the number of minutes you spend running or training that decreases, but the intensity remains the same. Okay, so you don't want to all of a sudden start running way slower or way faster and while you're changing the volume. You want to maintain that structure in your routine, and you may even do a little bit, keep progressing your speed work while the volume goes down in shorter bouts. Okay, it depends on your training program and your experience. Okay, so that's the main component of the pre-race prep from a physical perspective. But that being said, there's a ton of other things that you can do. So once you start decreasing the volume of your training, you've freed up minutes, which for some people, they get the taper tantrums. You might have heard of these or had them yourself. And that just means that, you're used to being out there and you're used to having exercise as part of your life. There's a routine piece that can stress us out when it's taken away. There's physiological, changes when they're removed that can give us a little bit of angst. So acknowledge if that's happening to you, and then replace that training time with something that will facilitate your recovery. And it's another form of training. It's just not a stress form of training. So the different things that you're going to work on are more sleep. Okay, so you can go to bed earlier, you can have naps. Okay, all those minutes you've been spending running, when you cut the volume, you've got extra time. You can spend more time doing stretching. You can book in massages, go to the acupuncture, chiro, get your tune-ups, not too close to race day. Okay, at least a week before, ideally, unless you're used to doing that as part of your routine. You can really start focusing on your nutrition. Okay, at the start of the taper, get your protein up. Your body is looking for those building blocks, those amino acids, to rebuild the tissues that have been broken down. And then as you get closer towards the event, start shifting the ratio of macronutrients or calories of the macronutrients to higher carbohydrates. It doesn't mean you're going to carbo load and make yourself sick shoving in carbs and high carb meals. It just means you're going to shift the ratio. So a higher percentage of the food on your plate comes from carbohydrates, okay? And then that way, as you're doing a little less training, your body is going to use those extra carbs and make sure that all that glycogen is topped up. Now that's most important for really long events. The shorter events, you're not going to deplete your glycogen typically in a 10K or shorter, okay? But things to consider: make sure you're getting a lot of real food. So when we think about whole food nutrition, so things you could pick, hunt, shoot, dig, that come from nature with as little added to it and a little taken away, and get in all those vitamins and minerals. Lots of water. Make sure that you're staying hydrated. Okay, you don't want to set yourself back and have thick blood, which makes everything harder on race day. So make sure you're well hydrated. You can also spend some of your time working on your race in your mind. So race rehearsal and through visualization is a very powerful tool. And what you can do during this period is dig out the race profile, look at the maps, visualize. If it's in your neighborhood, drive the route. If you haven't already been on there, if you can, get on the course, and if not, just really visualize it. And then spend time every day picturing yourself getting ready in the morning, going through the day, and overcoming any and all obstacles that come your way. So working through different things that might come up and the strategies that you might use so that you can finish the race with that big smile on your face and that number you want on the clock, bringing in as much detail as you can and really bringing in the feelings associated with realizing your goal. Okay, so lots of things you can do in the week before to calm the taper tantrums and use that energy, that extra energy you've got, for good versus evil. So hopefully that helps you guys, gives you some ideas. And please watch for the race day strategy and race day prep video coming soon.